Well, back to breaking news. A special grand jury indicts outgoing Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson and the Sheriff's Office's Chief Financial Officer.
The Attorney General says that these charges are related to last year's jailbreak.
She's charged with malfeasance in office, filing or maintaining false public records, and obstruction of justice, and with conspiracy to commit each of those alleged crimes. It's 30 charges in total. Chris Joseph is live at criminal court with what the Attorney General says about those charges. Chris.
Well, if you remember, in the aftermath of the escape last May, the Attorney General's office took over the investigation relatively quickly, and they say that it worked with the Sheriff's Office, local actors, federal actors, state actors, and this finding appears to be a conclusion of that investigation. There's one quote in particular we want to highlight for you regarding some of the takeaways for the Attorney General's office. It reads, while Sheriff Hudson did not personally open the doors of the jail for the escapees, her refusal to comply with basic legal requirements and to take even minimal precautions in the discharge of her duties directly contributed to and enabled the escape. Ultimately, the indictment coming down today. Now, the Attorney General's office is working with the incoming sheriff, Michelle Woodfork, also releasing a statement to that effect. We can read it for you here. As my prosecutors move forward with this case, I continue to have productive conversations with Sheriff-elect Michelle Woodfork on how to improve operations, secure the facility, and build in basic financial oversight that complies with state law. If you'll remember, months ago, when this investigation kind of got warming up or speeding up, that is, the Attorney General, Liz Murrill, got in front of cameras and said that locks were a concern of hers. Obviously, securing the facility noted in that statement, something that no doubt she'll be working on moving forward. Again, having productive conversations with Woodfork, I should say. The bond for Hudson right now stands at $300,000. Meanwhile, her chief financial officer, Bianca Brown, that stands at $200,000. Both individuals had to give up their passports, and they will be back in court. A hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 here at Orleans Parish criminal courts. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention there as to what is ultimately said and what, if anything, the sheriff shares in her response. We have reached out to the sheriff's office for comment, sending both an email and making a phone call. No word yet, but if we do hear back, obviously we will report it to you here. Reporting in New Orleans, Chris Joseph, Fox 8, Local First.